Hello, hello, my dear friends who I have missed so much. So great to see your beautiful face.
I know. How are you? I'm so
I,
excited.
I'm here. I'm here,
That's good.
doing
That's
the
good.
things. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing. As far as I've gotten. So that's it. Like,
Trust
I'm
me.
just doing. So, and I'm just okay about it. So that's it.
Absolutely. Well, we are here 1 month later, and it's 110% my bad. My bad, y'all.
Right,
My
right.
planning skills have been. Ooh.
Life is just been life, and that's it. We're just going with the waves. That's it. Sometimes you just gotta go with the flow and see
Yeah,
where it goes.
a
That's
little
it.
30-day break ain't hurt nobody, you know what I'm saying?
No, that's it.
But it was needed. It wasn't like we were resting, but we were, but we weren't. We were, but it's fine. We're here today,
Yeah.
and we are here for. Oh, we've got to introduce
You gotta
ourselves.
introduce us. Look at we ain't been here and we don't even know
I
how to do
know
it.
we didn't forgot how to do the whole thing.
Y'all
Like,
know who he is. Okay, so welcome
exactly.
to Elevate and Relate. This is a podcast for like-minded and like-minded people. We here, we talk about everything that everyone's afraid to talk about. We get into the nitty-gritty because it's a safe space for everyone to converse. So that being said, I am Jasmine Meadows. I am an intuitive mindset coach, energy channel, light worker, all the things. Now have founder of Mom in Motion under my belt, which I'm so excited about. But basically, I help moms turn their pain into power. And so I do that with my intuitive gifts. And so, yeah, that's me. And
Well,
my
hello,
beautiful
hello.
people's hair is.
Look, I wish I had. Yeah, I don't have anything for it. I am Nana Carr. I am a cognitive behavior coach. What I do is I help people understand themselves. I help entrepreneurs, women mainly with entrepreneurs who want to be able to find the self in the sale and rediscover themselves, and to be able to know their value in their business and for themselves. And I also help people, you know, fight the status quo and be themselves unapologetically and create a life that aligns with who they truly are and not who they learn to be. But yes, that is us. If this is your first time, thank you for joining us. We are doing a very special, informal episode today. We're just going to be answering some questions.
Yes, and heavy on the informal. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we
Heavy
just
for that.
y'all.
Talking. We just out here talking.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's cool because I feel like this is perfect actually to reintegrate ourselves with the whole thing because it's like, at no expectations, we're just here.
We're just
It's a
here.
beautiful thing.
That's it.
But yes, if you are here, again, for first time, whatever, please understand that this is a collaborative conversation, meaning that we want to talk with you, not to you. Okay. So join into the conversation. We want to hear your input. You never know. We could learn something from you. So please do not hold back. Hello, Samantha. How are you? Beautiful. Samantha just joined us.
Oh, hello.
Um, yeah, and if you are here, again, if you have a question, go ahead and chime in the comments. We are going to be answering some questions that we received prior to the episode. However, if you have some, just go ahead and type them in the comments and we will do our best to answer your questions. Nothing. This is an uncensored conversation. Nothing's held back. Okay.
Ask away, whatever. Just
We are here for whatever.
don't
So
overthink it. Just if it come out, just don't let it come out. That's it.
yeah, let it come out. Like, look, we all family in here, so there is no judgment whatsoever. All right. So, do you want to just start and get into it and get into the questions that we have?
Yeah. Let's see what we got. What's the first
All
one?
right. So, the first one that we have is about habits. What
Ooh,
small actions can I take to develop positive habits? All right, I'll let you go first because one thing you need to know about us is that we both teach the same thing in different ways. So I love to let her go first because I like to just add on the execution part of all the beautiful things on how to align your life. Okay, so, go ahead, Jen.
listen. So what small actions can I take to develop positive habits? We're all facing this now because at least for me anyway, I know this is something that I work on a daily. But I would say to be present. That is the best thing that I could say, because all you have truly is your here and now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can have the to-do list, you can set a to-do list. What I do is typically I will have 3 main things I need to get done. 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't make it more than that, because
Yeah.
we're going to be chill on the expectations, okay?
Yes.
So if we
Absolutely.
exceed that 3, kudos to me. I done exceeded them 3. But there's 3 that I have to get done. And then I list out what I need in that order, prioritizing it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm just present. You know what I mean? Like those small actions. If you have a big, because a lot of times what happens is we have these huge, big projects. We have these huge, big things. We get overwhelmed. We get an analysis paralysis. We don't want to do it. We're like, oh my gosh, I can't do it. Then you talk yourself out of doing it, and then you don't do it. And then you be mad at yourself because there was no progress. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you do is you chunk it into smaller groups. So if
Mm-hmm.
you chunk it into smaller groups and you say, okay, I'm going to do these 3 things, and then you have your extra 5 or whatever you want to do, you know that once you get them done, that's part of whatever it is that you need to get done. That's what you did. That was your commitment for the day. Those were your small actions, and you executed. Now, if you do more than that, you extraordinary today. Oh, you know,
Watch out now.
so that's how you do. And then you give yourself that, like, and don't make them real unrealistic. A lot of times we make these unrealistic expectations and then get mad at ourselves again because we didn't do it, we didn't execute. Oh my gosh, blah blah blah. Just be here now.
Yeah.
Just be here now, because your present state, you only have this moment that you have control over. This is the only moment that you can control. You can't control 5 minutes from now. You can't control, well, even when you have a schedule, right? Because sometimes we fall behind on a schedule because all we have is this moment. So focus on the moment that you have. Set realistic expectations for yourself. Don't over exceed those expectations because of what you want, because sometimes what you want is not necessarily what you need in that moment. So be real with yourself in that space. So that's what I would say, because that's what I do, and it's been helping me. And let me tell you, I've actually been more productive than I thought I was, because I'm actually getting things done with the time. The other thing I would say is be mindful of where you spend your time with the small actions. So like, if you set a standard or a routine or habit of like, okay, every morning I wake up and I scroll, or everyone, so I know I had a habit of like waking, the first thing I do is I check my, I go on social media, or I check my email, or try to find different things that you can do. One small thing that you do in the morning, even if it's just you get up in the morning and you just have 5 minutes for yourself to think. Whatever that is, I would start with that and then trickle into what your to-do list, what your priorities are for that day. So
Well, of course, I agree with everything you said. And I also want to piggyback on the morning routine thing. The morning routine is super important. Now, I'm not talking about the one that they tell on YouTube where you got to do 50,000 things in the morning and start off like that's, I'm sorry, that's bullshit. I don't live by that, right? I feel like you need to make a meaningful morning routine that is really tailored to you, because how you start the day is going to set the momentum. So sleep and morning routines, like having a healthy morning routine to set the tone for your day, is huge. Even if you don't do anything else that we are mentioning today, if you do those 2 things, make sure you sleep, make sure you drink water, and also make sure that you are getting a good start in the morning. And by that, we don't mean, like I said, make a 1 raw egg. No, we're saying slow mornings. Give yourself time to actually start your day properly, to actually think and set intentions for the day so that you can be in your right mindset. Mindfulness is the key to everything, in my opinion. And if you are able to meditate, even if you're not meditating with, the traditional way, maybe have some music you can listen to or whatever, something to start your day in a way that you can set the momentum for what you plan to do. But other than that, acronym that I use to help people with habits is STEPS. All right. So it's S is start small, and T is for triggers, E is for enjoyment, and then P is for plan and prepare, and S is for, Lord, I'm having a brain fart. S is for support and self-compassion, okay? So with the start small, same thing that Jasmine said, have small attainable goals. Now with the attainable goals, it's more so, again, realistic goals. What makes sense for you as a person and what makes sense for your schedule. because a lot of times, like she said, you want to plan all these big things, but what makes sense to who you are, what you enjoy doing, what you hate doing. Like, for instance, if I tell myself that I'm going to write in my planner every day, that goes against who I am as a person, because I know I hate anything that feels is giving kind of any administrative energy. My brain shuts down. So why in the world would I set that goal every day, knowing that that's how my body works? If I know I haven't been to the gym in 5 years, why in the world would I start telling myself that I'm going to go to the gym every day for for every week, for 7 days a week? That doesn't make sense. You have to do things that are realistic to you and where you are in your life, and also what you have to do, because we only have 24 hours in a day. You have to be able to, like she said, stack those things, habit chunking, stacking, whatever, and start small. And then you align your days eventually around the small habits that you create. All right. So that you also want to do the small things that lead to the big things. And when I say that, I mean from the core. Start from the core. Don't start from, you have the intrinsic and extrinsic motivations, right? So the intrinsic are the motivations that are within you, the ones that you do because it fulfills a part of you. Those are the motivations that you want to go for. So you start off seeking from the core of what you actually value, what you actually want for yourself, and try to create intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation. You're doing it for external reasons. So for example, if you want to lose weight, right, and you start off and you say you want to lose weight, saying that you want to lose weight just to fit into a dress may not be enough. You may want to say, oh, I want to be healthier, or you ask something that actually matters to you. Set things that actually truly matter to the core of you versus just things that sound good, right? Things that sound good to your friends, like, oh, I'm gonna lose 15 pounds. No, how about you stay? Like, it helped me a lot with my gym journey, with me just basically making goals to just show up. My goal is to show up. Even if I just walk in the door, do 15 minutes and walk out, I just want to show up. And by me showing up, it's not about the gym. It's about me showing up for myself. It's about me creating momentum of consistency, or something close to it, with doing that every single day, and reframe those motivations to something that actually makes sense and resonates with you beyond the external stuff, right? And then the next one is T, trigger. So with triggers, a lot of times we focus on negative triggers and the negative things that, that can get in our way. And yes, by all means, we can talk about that, but we're not, because we're going to talk about that later. But I want to talk about the positive triggers. What positive triggers can you set in your life? What positive things can you put, or as they say, anchor in your life, to help you stay on track? For example, you link up an anchor of a ship, right? You have a ship, they put the anchor down so they won't float away. That's what a positive anchor is the thing that you can revert back to when you are having a hard time. So for me, I really wanted to learn to stay, calm, and I wanted to be able to work my anxiety and get off my anxiety pills. So one anchor that I created was a happy playlist of songs that I knew would make me happy. So if I had a time where I felt myself spiraling, because like she said, awareness is important in this stage. When you become more aware, you can start to feel yourself about to spiral. And when that happens, put on a playlist or whatever positive trigger that you can create is going to bring you back to where you were, right? And you want to be able to identify what things that you will need help in, like be honest and realistic and say, okay, well, I know that I have issues with my temper, or I know I have issues with stress eating. If you know that, try to become more aware of that thing and place a positive trigger along with identifying the negative trigger to combat it. Because a lot of times we go into the fight of changing habits with a knife and a gunfight. Okay, you got to give yourself tools to be successful. And with that also being said, enjoy. And to enjoy the process, to swap. When we think of dopamine, we think of the dopamine we have when it's done. Consider the dopamine that you want to have while you're doing it. There are different triggers for dopamine. It's not just when it's done. There's dopamine when you activate, when you have the idea of the goal. There's dopamine when you do one thing right? You hold on to those dopamine boosts, because that's what's going to keep you going. You also have dopamine when you overcome a challenge. Acknowledge that dopamine. Lean into those moments and create a pattern of dopamine, hits, so you can start to fall in love with the actual process. Okay. So that's another thing. And then also reward yourself. If you do something well, reward yourself. You deserve it, right? Even if it's something small, nothing is too small when it comes to changing habits and processes. If it's something that you did correctly, you don't have to go out and go buy something. Just make sure you acknowledge it, because then you're going to transform the subconscious mind patterns in your head. When you start to make a habit of talking to yourself nice, as I say. And then the prepare and plan, I'm trying not to go down to the thing. The plan and prepare, same thing with the dopamine. Plan dopamine in your day. Have times where you really lean into the dopamine so you can create happiness, because you need that to keep going, right? You need to plan for things that may get in your way. Understand your schedule. Plan for your kids. Plan for your husband. Plan for all of the things that may be in your way. Plan ahead so you can get around it. And then last, support. Find people. I know we have this thing in our mind where we want to isolate during these times, and that's cool, but also understand the power of people, the power of community. We are humans. Humans want community. We thrive with community. And I'm not saying any kind of community. Make an effort, even if for a minute, that you go around people that actually can give you the dopamine and also give you the insights and the support that you need. If there's any events, if there's any meetups, gatherings, whatever, go to them. Diversify your experiences to things that are more aligned, and make sure you create an environment that is conducive to all the things you want. And that's the quickest way I can explain that. I need some water.
Quick to say.
I think in my head, okay, girl.
Samantha says the current habit realignment for me is just forcing myself to get up when my alarm goes off instead of snoozing 11 times. Okay. I'm still struggling with this. However, she says, I'm coming to the point that my mornings are starting with less anxiety the more consistent I am with this. That is awesome. I would say that I struggle with this too. First of all, my kids wake me up. My kids like, Mom, it's time. I'll be like, oh, okay. I'll be like, y'all got everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's horrible. But what I will say is, one thing that has helped me is I have gotten to the habit of rewiring my brain. And so it's been this active thing. Being the intuitive mindset person that I am, I know how my shadow gets, and she's real tricky. So she's a trip. So basically what I have learned to do is, the minute that I've learned to look at everything in its neutralized space. So we're going to get a little woo-woo real quick. We're going to go right down this energetic.
We need the woo-woo.
But I've started to deneutralize a lot of things. And when I mean deneutralize, I look at life almost neutral. I give life meaning. Is not going to, like, the meaning that I learned is not going to be applicable to me. I will not be a belief. Okay. So because of that, I decided that I'm going to look at life as an experience, right? So when I wake up in the morning, I don't want to get up in the morning. It's like, oh gosh, because now I know it's the start of my day. It's the start of this. I got to get, but then I also make sure that I switch it too, because the thing is, what value do I give this action? And I look at the value that I give it, because that's important, because we are taught certain things, and everything that we have learned, unless it's a law, a universal law, it could be untaught. It could be changed. It could be rearranged. So what I do is, the minute I say, oh, whatever that negative thing is, I transmute it in that same moment. And I'm like, but I'm so grateful that I was up today, because somebody told me didn't wake up. And then that just neutralizes the whole thing. And now we're ready to go, because now what you've done is you now switched it into a state of gratitude. And now you're like, you know what? I am happy I woke up today. You know what? Now I can get it. It just gives that little like zap that you need to kind of switch things, and it's very subtle. It's so subtle, but it makes such a difference, especially when I'm going through my most challenging moments where I'm like, why is this happening? And then I'm like, but you know what? What is it that I need to learn? This experience right now is something that I need to learn. There's something from this experience. There's something I could take from it. There's something I could transmute and add a new value that I didn't already have. Then now I say, this is the value that I actually want to attribute, because this is what's going to make my experience more fulfilling in my life. That's a practice that I have started to institute that has been helpful. So maybe that's something that you could institute.
Yes. And I concur, because it helps a lot when you really let it marinate. I guess you want to say that the uncertainty is a very natural part of life. Anxiety is a part of life. All these things that we put so much negative pressure on ourselves for are all natural occurrences that if they didn't occur, we wouldn't be human, right? So it's okay to not want to get up out the bed because you're tired. Like, that's fine. Like, I feel like that's the first thing, is to not make it seem like such a bad thing, right? Because, and like she said, reframe that thought and be like, you know what? And think about, like, okay, if I don't want to get up, what may have occurred to make me feel this way? And 9 times out of 10, you just needed to get more sleep. Or maybe you need more productive sleep. Maybe you need better quality sleep. Like, anytime things like that. And that's the thing I love about thoughts and understanding thoughts and like what they can actually do for you. When you actually embrace the thought and stop trying to fight the thought and let the thought sit and actually process the thought, like, and allow the thought to run its course. And then you ask yourself, like, why did I have this thought? Because 9 times out of 10, something in you is trying to tell you something. So if you want to lay down longer, it's probably saying, maybe we should get better rest or more rest. Or maybe there is something about my life that I don't feel like it's worth getting up for. You have to really kind of.
Yeah. It could be a series of things. You just have to really sit with you. And instead of looking at it, a lot of people have a hard time like sitting with that. But when you realize that you have the power to alter the value that you give the experiences that you have, it actually makes it a lot more easier to navigate those emotions. You become an investigator and not a criticizer. You're not critical, you're investigating. You're like, well, why do I do that? Well, why is it like this? Oh, maybe it's this job. Maybe it's because Bob at the office is always in my face asking me questions I don't want to answer. Mind your business, Bob. You know, it could be whatever it is, but you got that knowledge. That's the part. It's like, oh, now I know, you know, now that you know that, great. Now you know, so now you can armor yourself in another way. So
absolutely. That's always the goal, is to armor yourself. Like, quit trying to go through life off of vibes and fumes. Like, we have to give ourselves tools. Like, if you really think about the fact that we don't give ourselves tools, we don't eat well, we don't sleep well, we don't think well, and we don't do any of that. And we're asking our body to do all of these things that we are not giving it the fuel to do. So a lot of the fuel that you can get is by your thoughts. Oh, was you about to say something? Oh, Lord, am I freezing? Oh, Lord, somebody freezing. I think she's freezing, but we will still keep going. But yes, absolutely. So another thing that I wanted to say, because remember I mentioned the anchoring. Anchor, the most fun thing or amazing thing you can think of in the morning. So for me, I love to watch the sunrise. I don't know why. It's my thing. I like to get up. I get up stupid early, and I train myself to get up stupid early just so I can see the sunrise, because the sunrise reminds me that it's a physical representation that it's a new day, and that amazing thing happens every day. Because if that sun was not to rise, was to not rise that day, it would, there's so many amazing miracles that happen. So I look at that and I take that as my anchoring moment for the first thing in the morning. So I can understand that miracles are a natural occurrence, that I can understand that it's a new day with the new start. And what I do is I have a playlist that I put on, and I listen to this playlist, a specific playlist. It's called my Good Morning playlist. And I watch the sun rise. And another thing that it's good for is if I'm having a bad day, and I tell myself, redo. But because my brain is so programmed to think that when I play this playlist, it's a new day. If I play it in the middle of the day, my body responds as if it's the beginning of the day. So I'm able to start over. So like you're saying, you can program your mind to do so much. Okay. And it's just knowing the power of it and actually using the power and leveraging the power.
Yeah. Because those are your tools and your vibe. And going off vibes is great. I'm going to say. You have to go off them for a bit, because let me tell you, your vibe that you give off is what attracts the things that are meant for you to you. Mm-hmm. The problem is you have so many things that are in your way that's blocking it, that you learned that is not yours. You done stole everyone else's belief and applied it to your life, and that's blocking the vibration that was supposed to come to you. So what you do is you unlearn those things piece by piece. And this is how you do it, by kind of devaluing what you were taught has to have a certain meaning, and neutralizing it, and then anchoring it, and you having these exercises to help you usher you through it. Because we are human, right? And we do have those moments where we go back and forth. So
acknowledging self, acknowledging your humanity, understanding that everything is natural. Emotions are natural. It's all natural. It's just let it sit. Let it do whatever, and let your negative thoughts become your advisors, because your body is always trying to tell you something.
Absolutely.
And you just got to listen. That's all. And that's where the awareness she was talking about comes right back in. You probably will hear us talk about awareness probably in every single question. I feel like awareness is like the key to everything.
Every single thing, I swear.
Listen. All
so,
right.
So speaking of triggers, right? The next question is, how can I identify my triggers that lead to my negative habits?
I was trying to show it.
And how do I eliminate them? So let's see. How do you identify your triggers?
What you gonna go? I can go.
You can.
No, I like to let you go first, but okay. All right. So for me, I feel like the biggest thing, again, I hate to say it again, but awareness. Like I said, it's probably gonna be the first of everything. And understanding what signals your body gives when you are triggered, because that is something that we often overlook, that we know that it's what our body does, but we don't really know how our body communicates to us. Like now, like for instance, I knew last week that I had some suppressed emotions. I knew I needed to cry because my back hurt. Like that's how much me and my body, we go together. Like I'm like, my lower back hurt. I know I need to release something. That's how real it is once you actually learn it. So understand what your body could be doing when you feel triggered. Does your heart rate go up? Do you start sweating? Do you get to the point where you can't breathe? Some people, have loss of breath. Some people get hyperactive. Some people lose energy. How does it look for you to understand what is the first sign that you have to that trigger? Because you have to understand the trigger to overcome the trigger. And a lot of times we want to deal with it on a surface level where it's like, oh, I just don't want to be negative anymore. Okay, but how do you do that? Like, how do you know when you're being negative? Because a lot of the times, because of the world that we live in a society that is designed to keep us distracted. So you have to be real with yourself and understand that you are probably living distracted from your own life, in your own self, in your own body. So the first thing you need to do is reconnect with yourself to understand what being triggered actually looks like, what it feels like, what do you experience? And then once you understand that, start understanding your day. They have a term, it's called the allocatic load, where you understand your chronic stressors, like what stresses you. Assess your life, assess your stressors. What stresses you out? Like, and not just, a lot of times we focus on the acute stuff, like, oh, traumatic incident or something huge. No, does traffic stress you out? Do your kids stress you out? Like, and understand the level of stress that actually comes. Because think about it. How many times do we leave and go to home? We go home and we sit in the car. Why do you do that? Ask yourself why you do that. What are you trying to avoid by sitting in the car? Write that down. Like actually assess your life and understand the stresses that are in place in your life, and the ones that you can control and the ones that you can't. And the ones that you can control, you create a coping mechanism, create kind of strategy, something to counteract it. Create a positive trigger. I try to find a positive trigger for every negative trigger. And I also try to understand where that trigger comes from, like from a deeper level, so I can kind of work from the bottom up. Then say, okay, well, I know this came from feelings of abandonment. Okay, cool. So let me understand my abandonment better so I can know how to counteract that trigger versus just saying, oh, well, this hurts. Like, no, where did the trigger come from? Because 9 times out of 10, it stems from an experience, or it stems from an interaction, or it stems from energy. Hell, people's energy can be triggering. If you have somebody that's in your space or in your home or whatever that has a triggering energy, acknowledge that. Because a lot of times we don't want to be honest because we don't want to let go of that person, or we don't want to be mean, or we don't want to be that girl, or especially with Black women, we don't want to be the angry Black woman, because we know we can't really like say what we want to say, but acknowledge it and understand that's what that does to you, and write it down. Like actually write it down, document it, look at the list often, figure out, like actually study it, figure out ways that you can counteract it. What coping mechanisms can you put in place? Who can you get rid of? Those are just simple questions to ask, and understand yourself, understand your environment, and then create an environment, thought patterns, and affirmations or whatever to replace, because the brain does not delete, it replaces. You can't delete, you have to replace it with something. So ask yourself what you can identify, then replace it with.
Yes, I agree with all of that. All of it. But I would say too, You see, how do you identify your triggers that lead to negative habits? Why is it a negative habit? Assess why it's a negative
Part
habit.
two. Yeah.
What makes it negative? Who gave
Mm-hmm.
it that value?
Mm-hmm.
Whose belief system did you steal?
Yep.
Because when you get to that point, that's where you're actually going to make your change. When you get to be able to assess your value of what you're going to put on a habit, who said it was negative? What was
Mm-hmm.
it? Overthinking? That can be overridden. You can overthink your way into a business plan. What you mean? So I think I would say to be really, really curious about what you consider negative.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when it comes to being triggered, use it as your warning. Why does the trigger have to be bad? Why
Mm-hmm.
it's alarming you. Hey, you notice this over here? If you never got triggered, how would you know where you needed to do work?
Mm-hmm.
How would you know something ain't right? I feel something. This a little off.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you change your mindset on how you look at triggers, on how you look at negative habits, right? Because if you neutralize it, it doesn't it's not all what it's caked up to be in terms of what we were taught it should be. You know, fear is negative, anger is negative. All those things can be transmuted. All of
Mm-hmm.
them. Not one of those things cannot be transmuted into something that's going to be beneficial for you.
Yep.
So I wouldn't say eliminate them because you need them. You need them to signal. That is your body, your mind, the power of your human existence to say, hey, we need to look at this. This may not, you may feel triggered because maybe you're around something that doesn't align with your true soul's purpose. And maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's the trigger. But how
Yep.
would you know if your body didn't alarm you? I don't like going out late night no more. I
Mm-hmm.
need to be in the house spot. Look, I need a parking spot. I need okay, y'all
Mm-hmm.
got me rolling the block one more time and I'm going home. Trigger. That lets me know maybe this ain't my scene. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I'm not aligned somewhere. So I think when you look at your triggers and what they are, look at don't look at it as a negative thing. We always associate society associates things as triggers. Oh, your negative triggers bad. Says who? Says
Mm-hmm.
who? How am I supposed to know? Those are my hazard lights. What do you mean? So hello.
Oh, we got bars for geeks tonight. Yes, say it.
That's what they are. Those are my hazard lights. So it lets me know, okay,
Yeah.
sis. And if it's loud enough, it may let you know too. Okay. Like that's just how it is. So I would say that you should shift your mindset on how you look at what you consider a trigger, because those triggers are actually going to be the lighthouse and the catalyst to what you need to do to change if
Mm-hmm.
something doesn't align with you anymore, if something's not in sync with where you're trying to go or the trajectory of where you're trying to move. So that's how I would look at it. And with the elimination, don't eliminate them. You need the lights, okay? You need the lights so that you can shine where you need to do the work. That's like the catalyst to doing your shadow work, to figuring out more of you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I would say for that.
Yeah, and I agree. And another thing too, a lot of times we focus on just not being sad or not being mad with no true understanding, because we have been mad, sad, or whatever in between. What does your calm actually look like?
Girl,
Like
my
what? Like
calm let me tell you, I'll tell you what my calm look like. My
mm-hmm.
calm look like a temper tantrum. This week has been listen, I'm like, what day is it? I don't even know, first of all. Second of all,
I know what day it was for
girl,
months.
listen, story time. I was in a
Mm-hmm.
doctor's office like all day today. And I told my
Mm-hmm.
doctors, both of them, because listen, I'm gonna know so much about healthcare. Like I worked in healthcare for over 10 years, but I'm gonna know a whole shit lot more now after all this, because I was like getting all these answers of stuff I didn't want to know. And I'm like, what is this? What's going on? And I was so upset and I was so angry. And then I just sat for myself and I was like, well, why am I angry? Why does this make me mad? And I was like, well, I'm in pain. This was like a whole monologue. Okay. I'm in pain. I don't like this. She didn't have no answers. And like, why am I here? Like I gave her more information than she gave me. That's how I felt like. It was just straight like that. And then I sat and I was like, okay, why are you angry? Because I'm uncomfortable. I was in pain. And then I said, I'm not in pain. I'm in discomfort.
That part.
And then I was like, okay, well, how can I look at discomfort? What does discomfort mean? What does that mean? Like, so what? Who cares? Well, discomfort is a sign of growth in my mind. Because when you're growing, you're uncomfortable. So now I had to figure out, well, why in this circumstance? What do I need to know in this instance, in this circumstance? What am I supposed to learn from here? What is this discomfort supposed to help me to grow from and to learn and to whatever? And I literally sat and I calmed myself down, but I had this whole freaking like flare, like, listen, Sag moon here. I got all fiery, like this is ridiculous. And then I was like, okay, calm down now. Cool on off. And I had to sit like, why are you mad? How can this benefit you? How can you move through it? And I talked myself through it. And once I did that, like I felt better mentally and emotionally. I felt better. Yeah, I was still in some pain in there. I was still like, but it wasn't as heavy and as prevalent as it was before. And it just allowed me to rethink things. But sometimes you just have to do that in the moment. And it's like, oh gosh. So my emergency and my calm state sometimes don't look calm, okay? Because I'm gonna go through the emotions. And you're supposed to. You're not supposed to not go through the emotions. They're here for you to experience. So, like, experience them. Just don't stay stuck in that wallowed emotion of, oh my gosh, nothing's going to go my way. Because now what you're doing is you're diluting your power of the present to be able to transmute it into something. So, yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, and what I was saying about the calm is when that's the universal word, but the better word for it in the sense of what I'm saying is the resourceful state. Because as your brain processes or however your brain processes the world, they call it, I know y'all heard of homeostasis, where you have the stable part of your life or your temperament where you can process things. Because the way that the brain works is that when you have when you are going through things, your prefrontal cortex can shut down where you cannot process logical thought. So when you are in your resourceful state, you are able to have the brain power to process things normally as you should, to be able to have the forethought and the logical ability to be able to do it. Because for me, I know that I suffer, I don't like to say word suffer. I deal with survival mode, right? And my survival mode is freeze. My trauma response is to freeze. So a lot of the times I know that about myself now. So I know that to reach my homeostasis or whatever resourceful state, that I need to move, because you do the opposite of whatever is triggering you. So everyone has their level of overwhelm, and the level of overwhelms differ. So you have to understand your level of overwhelm and understand your calm or homeostasis or resourceful state or whatever, where you know that you are most resourceful, that your thought processes are working as they should, that you are able to actually logically think out something, that you are able to take actionable steps. Understand what that looks like for you, what needs to be in place, what needs to happen for you, what do you need for you to be your best version of you, for you to be your resourceful version of you. Learn your thought patterns, learn your mind. I know for me, I need sleep. If I don't sleep, I'm not okay. And I know that I need water. I need certain things. I need certain people around. I know the environments that I can enter. I know the environments that I can't, because I'm so familiar with my state of calm that when it's disrupted, I'm on it and we're fixing it. And we're going to get back to my resourceful state, because I know when my equilibrium's off, if I'm starting to fall for no reason, trip over stuff, I just understand my body. So it's like just understanding when you are triggered, what it feels like. Now that she's the person who asked the questions is here, let me review real quick. We were talking about how you have to understand what it looks like when you are triggered. What does your body do? As she said, the hazard lights. What do your hazard lights feel like? What do they look like? There's so many signs that you can see that you may not be able to notice when you're not aware. I know that I have sciatic nerve issues. So sometimes my nerves on my left side go, you have to learn your body. We think so much on, what are the things, the external things they told you to do, but let's talk about intrinsic things that are within you, because you are equipped. That's one thing too. Understand that your body is always, always, always working for your good. There is never a time when your body is not working for your good. It's just not. Even when you have depression, that is something your body is trying to distance you from negative thoughts. Your body, because your body is aware of what those negative thoughts are going to do. So your body is attacking those thoughts by making you numb. And if we look at it from a, societal definition, I'm depressed. No, your body is working for your good in a way that's just unfavorable right now, but you have full control to shift that by finding coping mechanisms that are going to put you back to your resourceful state. So now that I'm so familiar with my resourceful state, when anxiety comes, because I have PTSD, anxiety, all of that, when those things come and they try to distance me from my thoughts, I just try to reframe my thoughts. I try to do whatever makes me calm, whatever I know is going to bring me back to that resourceful state where my brain is operating properly. And even when you think of it like that, that when I am calm, I am resourceful. When I am calm, I can think logically, because we think with our subconscious mind 90% of the time. Like we just do. We're emotional creatures. So it takes work. It has to pass a lot of gates to get through logical thought on a regular day. So imagine if you're depressed. Imagine if you're stressed. Imagine if someone got you fucked up. You're not thinking logically. So listen, I protect my homeostasis. Like I am calm. I know what my calm looks like. And if I know what puts me out of my calm, and I've identified that, so that when I even feel that way, I know exactly what to do to get myself back. But yeah, it's just about knowing your body and knowing yourself and understanding what not calm everything looks like for you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. What's the next question? And if y'all have any questions in the audience, people that just joined us, please ask. We here for y'all. We ain't been. Listen, we're hyperverbal. We operate off vibes.
That's it. Wait, that's all I got. All I got is okay. Okay.
All right. So the next question is, how do I ensure my new habits are sticking?
Well, how do you feel? You feel like a new person? like you getting shit done? I mean, like I think I would gauge it by how you feel and what, like, because our society is so, I hate to be all like transgender.
Go ahead. Go there. Go there.
It's just like, I'm like, our society is so linear in time and
because you probably better say what I want to say. Go ahead.
But it's just be in the moment. In that moment, how does it feel? How are you feeling? Mm-hmm. I would gauge if your new habits are sticking based on how you feel about what your new life looks like. Most of the time, when you have new habits, they form a new version of you in and of itself, because we're changing moment by moment, whether we believe it or not, whether we see it or not. And that's why when, even when you are envisioning and doing vision boards and all the things, you're imagining and you're thinking things that you don't see as if you do see them, because you're transforming yourself into whatever that is. So you may not see the materialized version of it tomorrow, right? But you're creating those habits so that it becomes that. You know what I mean? Like how your mind works is, your mind doesn't know like false versus true. Okay, they don't know. If you say this is a bad day, your brain says, "Yep, it's a bad day," and it's going to track everything. It's a bad day. If you say I'm having the best day, then your brain's gonna be like, "Yep, you are," and guess what? We're gonna track everything that says you having a good day. You have the power. So if you know, like, how you know that your habits are sticking to whatever it is that you put out is what you're getting back, literally, because your reality is literally a mirrored reflection of whatever it was that you put out. Because your brain's it's just that's what it is. That's the computer. It's gonna be like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. So how do you feel in those moments? Do you feel positive? Do you feel accomplished? Do you feel good? Do you feel excited? You know what I mean? Like if you have a new habit and you feel good and you feel light and you feel that's your telltale sign. That's how you know. If you still feel drained, you feel heavy, then maybe there's some work that still needs to be done. Or what happens is sometimes you start a new habit and you feel good that day, like, oh, this ain't so bad. And the next day you go back to your old pattern and you're like, well, shit, what did I do? What happened? Did I just go back? It happens. You have to practice and train your mind. If you learn something new or institute something new each day, that kind of helps to formulate a new habit. It's almost like pattern disruption. You kind of just be like, you don't normally go for a walk. Let me go for a walk today and see how we do. Because it disrupts whatever that pattern is that you put yourself, that mode of like, I got to do this and I got to do that. And because then your brain gets in this like autopilot and you're not even thinking about doing it, So I would say, look at how you feel in the moment of whatever the thing is you're doing. Look at how you feel by the end of the day. Look at how you feel. Like me, I've been going to bed so early. I usually don't. I'm usually up. Like, listen, I like she's sunrise, I am sunset. Okay, and midnight and all the things. So I'm so it's like, but lately I'm like by 9 o'clock, I'm like, okay, y'all. I don't know. I will see y'all in the morning. And I don't
Yes.
know what happened or how it happened or whatever it happened. Like it just happened. And I realized that I feel good in the morning when I wake up. Yes, some days I'm like, dang, but I do my transmutation. I'm like, okay, we're good. Here we go. And that's it. So I think just focus on how you feel rather than like monitoring, don't have like a checklist. Like, did I do this today? Don't just be like, how do I feel? Do I feel
Yeah.
good? Does this align? Do I feel drained? Do I not? You know.
Mhm. Agreed. Yeah, and I agree, obviously. But another thing I want to add is just, again, I want to really, and you weren't in here when I said it earlier, to really start from your core out. Change should start inside out, not the other way around.
Yep.
Anything that starts from another motivation of somebody else, another like something that you've adopted or from somebody else, any motivation or goal that you have, inherited from somebody else's trauma, somebody else's whatever, you are not going to, it's not meant for you to be successful because it's not yours to begin with, right? So you have to start off with by assigning yourself changes that are yours, changes that belong to the core of you and not just the things that the world expects of you, right? Because we live in a world that expects things that do not align. We live in a society that does not implement the essence of humanity in anything. Like they want to distance us from ourselves. So it's natural for you to be disconnected. So understand that first. There's a good ass chance that you are disconnected from yourself and that you may, before you start any of this, you may have to pause for a bit and look in yourself and ask yourself, who am I? What do I really want? Who am I before, or who am I before anybody told me what I was? Who do I think I am? You have to assess all of that. What does your sense of self look like? What do you feel? How do you feel like you project into the world? Like you have to know a lot of these things to help create meaningful goals and habits, because again, you have to really create from the inside and understand what you need on all levels, not just externally. Yes, you need more money, but if you don't have a healthy relationship with money, when you get the money, you're not going to do right with it anyway. So start with the healthy relationship with money. Give yourself room to pause. Give yourself permission to take your time. It's huge. Just giving yourself permission. Hell, I would even start with that. Start with giving yourself permission to take the time that you need to do your race at your pace and without anybody's input, without anybody's expectations. I'm doing this on my time for me, for XYZ reasons that align with me. That's the best starting point you can start out with. And
Yeah.
honestly, if you master that, everything else is going to come organically. But just in case, one thing that you want to also do is create, like we said before, create a life around. Once you create what you want on an intrinsic level, create an environment that supports it. And when I say that, we've already talked about, people and things like that, but also think about the things that you are accepting. What are you watching? Everything affects you. Everything, whether we realize it or not, everything affects us, whether it's big, small, or in between. What you watch on TV affects you. What you see, who you talk to, the conversations you engage with. Even when you talk in frequencies, what frequency, like you have to really think about the impact of how things affect you. So for instance, if you are on, let's say you want to stop drinking. If you want to stop drinking, why in the world would you go in a club or something like that when you just decided to stop drinking yesterday? Understand where you are and understand what environment is going to support you where you are. Don't have the unrealistic mindset that, oh, well, because I'm so strong and I just want to, no, who you're human. And we as humans have to have environments and communities that support us. When you're having conversations that drain you, you lose the fuel to do the things that you really want to do. when you are watching things or doing things, and hell, I even switched up the music I was listening to for like 2 years just because I was like, I really need my mind to be on point. I need these things looping in my mind so they can become my norm. You are recreating your norm when you are changing your habits. And when you really embrace that and you understand that, okay, I am recreating my norm, meaning that everything around me has to shift with me. And if something's not shifting with you, it's shifting. Damn, I guess I'm bars from you today against you.
True. It's absolutely true.
So you have to understand the power of that. And even things that you may push to the side and be like, oh, that's just that's how he is. It still affects you. That's just my mom, my whatever, she always been that way. Okay, but it still affects you. And you need to understand how it affects you. It's a lot of people I don't talk to just because talking to them drains me. And I don't need to be drained. I need all of me right now. So why in the world would I talk to somebody that drains me? Why in the world would I go in spaces where I feel uncomfortable, knowing the power of being uncomfortable and how being uncomfortable can easily shift to a trauma response? Because everything is a big deal. People are like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Yes, it absolutely is. And you also have to understand that it's all affecting you and you have the power to shift it. No matter what the world tells you, because the world will tell you, oh, you can't quit that job or you can't do that. Yes, you can.
Chat, please. Whose belief, Steve? Whose belief did you steal? Okay. Don't be a belief thief, okay? Don't be a belief thief, all right? That don't apply.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're never stuck. You are never, ever, ever, ever stuck. Your mind, your anxiety, your depression, your PTSD, whatever is lying to you. Understand that too. Those thoughts are not the truth.
No, and they don't have to be. And you have the power to change it. That's why it's just like show up. What lights you up? Whatever makes you excited, that's how you know your new habit's sticking. Yeah. That's how I base everything. Who I say I'm going to be, what does that person look like? Would that person be wallowing about this? Would that person be this? If I say I'm as powerful as I am, then how do I show that? How do I do this? How do I, and what does this experience teach me? Like everything comes down to what value you're putting on things. Everything comes down to who you're showing up as, who you say you're going to be, who you say, because guaranteed you make a few shifts, your environment's going to naturally align with who you put out. You're not going to have to go look for nobody. You're not going to have to look for the opportunities. Opportunities are going to attract to you. So your new habits are based on the person who you say you're going to be in that present moment, because all you have is the here and now. So what you do in that here and now determines if your new habits are sticking. How do you feel about it? You excited? You not excited? You tired? You drained? What's familiar? What's not? And then assess it, and get curious. If something didn't align, guess what? Change it. That's it. It's the most simple.
It's simple. It's so simple, but we don't think it's simple because we add all this extra shit to it, and it's not. All that stuff is extra. It's like the parsley of beliefs.
Because everyone passed down their beliefs. Your mama, your dad, your grandma, they passed you down all these beliefs. Like my daughter asked me the other day. Let me tell you something, okay? Like my new habit is my kids wake me up, and I'm quite okay with it. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I get up in the morning. I'm like, wake up, guys. Nope, they wake me up. But when I saw my daughter, she wanted to wear boots, okay? And she wanted to wear these boots, and it was summertime. I'm like, we don't wear boots and this stuff. And I'm like, she had her socks. She had them tube socks rolled up with her ankle boots. And I'm like, with shorts. And I'm like, ooh, what? Did you see that on TikTok or something? Who's doing this? It's like, and I told her no at first. And then, yes, I let my poor child go out there, look what she looked like. Because you know why? I'm not putting my little belief on her little mind. If her mind says, I want to go out there with my sparkly boots, my tube socks, and my shorts, and my girl, live your life. Because I was taught, you don't wear boots in the summertime. It's hot. It's like 80 degrees. She want to wear some boots. Listen, she thought she looked amazing. I'm here to support.
That's all that matters.
Myself. And it's these little things like those habits. These are the habits. My habit would have been default to what I knew, right? But because I'm in this space, I have to be mindful. I don't want her stealing this belief that don't make no dang sense. Go on out there and do what you do, sis. I said, do you feel good? How do you feel? She said, I feel good. I said, how do you feel? She said, I feel great. I said, how do you look? I said, how do you think you look? She said, I think I look beautiful. She didn't think she looked beautiful. She said, I do look beautiful. I said, well, then, girl, let's go. Let's go. Let's go with your boots. I'm here to support. This is my baby. She look beautiful. Okay, don't tell her nothing. Look how sparkly.
Oh man, I feel
But I had
it.
to check but I had to check myself, right? Because I don't want to instill a belief that I'm trying to shed, right? Who am I? And this is how it happens. This is how we belief thief, okay? So, and we're not doing it. So, yeah, so just look at your habits, look at how you feel, all the things.
Yes. I agree, man. And it's funny you say that because I'm having the same issue with mine with her hair. She's wanting to do her own hair, and it's be looking like she did.
I wonder where she gets that from.
Focus. So, and I just be like,
I sense like a little mirroring going on here, so I don't know.
Can you not? Can you focus on the topic at hand? But yes, I understand that. We're gonna skip past up and start trying to read me for Phil.
I'm not reading. I'm just saying, these mirrored reflections.
I know it's true. That's another reason why I gotta shut up. Like, this is exactly what you wanted. Sis. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah, it's hard, but I have learned to shut up, and that's where it's like you focus. It goes back to focusing on the bigger picture. Like the bigger picture, that this small action is every action is a part of the bigger picture, and it's like when you realize that it's all a big deal, And another thing I want to also talk about is humanity. Again, I know I've said it before, but understand that inconsistency is human. We're not meant to be the robots they're trying to make us to be, right? They make us feel like, oh, you have to be doing good every single day. And if you fail one day, you fail. No, if you think about, it was someone, I can't remember, one of my favorite YouTubers, she made a comment, it's changed me forever, where she was talking about that if we feel like we are one with nature, and we are one with the world, and we are one with the earth, and weather is consistent, wildlife is consistent, everything is inconsistent. So why in the world do we think, what kind of arrogant mindset do we have to think that we are the only people? And it really makes no sense when you break it down, because if we're the smartest and we have creativity and imagination and all this free will to do all this random shit, it makes no sense for us to ever think that we can do something consistently every single day, because the way that our mind works, we're never going to do that. And people who say they do that are lying. I want to say something else, but no, they're just lying, because it's not supposed to work that way. So when you embrace that about yourself, and you know that and you say, I'm not having a failure, I'm having a moment. This is a moment. And that's cool, because guess what you get? Another moment. So just say, okay, I told myself I was going to stop drinking soda. I just drank one. I enjoyed it, but that's cool. It's a new minute. And that's another thing. Fuck the rules. Fuck that. Oh, you got to take it week by 3 months, 6 months go. If you need day by day, honey, give yourself day by day. If you need hour by hour, if you need to judge it by your bandwidth, judge it by who you are, judge it by your patterns. Don't, like, I used to fail myself, still feel like all the time, because I used to try to set goals like everybody else. Oh, I want to do the vision board at the beginning of the year, and I want to do every quarter, and I don't work like that. I'm not a quarter woman, okay? I was going to say it a different way. I'm not a quarter woman.
I'm going to fly by the seat of my pants like a girl. So it depends on the vibes. I feel you.
Whenever the mood, hits me. So I shifted my definition of consistency. So consistency for me is when I have the energetic bandwidth to do the thing, I'm doing the thing. And if I don't, I'm not. And that's cool. And it goes back to giving yourself permission to be human, permission to miss days, permission to understand how you actually work, and understand that the whole point of this is to not get it right. That's literally, we are incomplete beings. We are always working towards something. And I don't even like to say working, because it makes it sound tedious. We are always existing and shifting, and if every single thing affects us, why in the world do we think that we can do the same thing every single day the same way for the rest of our lives, when every part of that's about your house? Think about the world. Think about what we've been through since COVID. None of us are the same.
Listen, if you take the expectation out of a lot of things, you'll get a lot of stuff done, and you'll actually get more to your core. Everything always, if you put an expectation on things, honey, you'll always be disappointed. That's why it's like, I do what I can when I can. My day looks different as long as it's true in alignment with what I feel. That's why I said I govern myself for how do I feel at the end of the day? Yep. Do I feel accomplished? Yes. Do I feel light? Okay, cool. Do I feel like I was drained today? What drained me? And maybe some days I don't even have the energy to look at what drained me. I just know I ain't gonna do that shit tomorrow. That's it. And that's what happens. Like, it's just what it is. Like, that's it. It's so simple. Like, man, listen, I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do that. And I say no.
Easy. You got to get okay. You got to grow to say, be okay with saying no.
I'd be like,
it takes growth. You got to get there. But when you there,
just practice saying no to yourself in the mirror. Just no, girl.
Yeah,
just say no. See how it sounds, girl. You said no, like, oh no, I can't do that. No. You know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like that. I told somebody no the other day. Actually, they were like, "You're gonna do this," and it was like, "No." And I never told them no before. They haven't seen the new Evolve Me, I guess. So they was like, "Oh." I said, "Yeah, no, I'm gonna catch you next time." All right, yeah, okay, go on. And they just looked stunned, and it was okay. But I went on about my day. Like, they were a little shocked, but it's all right. They get over it. But and I'm not gonna deplete myself either. Like, not at nobody else's expense. No, absolutely not.
And I understand you always pushing out some kind of energy. And like she said, say no to yourself is the thing. People don't talk about that a lot. And I feel like maybe you should. How when you say no to yourself, it's like saying yes to yourself at the same time. Like, it's a real thing.
I will get in the mirror and talk to myself and do my little mirror magic, and I will practice, because sometimes you need to. And sometimes when you say stuff out loud to yourself, actually, it speaks to the inner child, the shadow self of you, to reprogram that too. Sometimes you need to hear it. So it's like you gotta really work to, practice that so that you become proficient.
As she said, sometimes it's a challenge to focus on my core, and everyone wants to do this. But notice that she said challenge, not something you can't do. Yeah, you know, and you also have to really evaluate that, because
go ahead.
Yeah, those boundaries are very important. And one powerful thing I think you saw it on my Facebook, but I'll say it anyway, where they say if they don't get a yes from you, they'll find their yes somewhere else.
They sure will.
And they will, because they will survive. And you have to pick your battles. Even with your kids, I've learned to pick my battles. And I ask myself, because I do attachment-focused parenting, where I focus on the attachment between me and my child. And in that process, when it comes to certain things that we could probably bicker over, like she was talking about earlier with the boots and all that, it's like, is it worth it? Is it worth the long-term message that I'm sending my family if I go back and forth with you over this? Kids need autonomy. So I'm not going to argue with you, for the sake of both of us. Right. And I can eat this. Right. This is something that is healthy for me to eat, but I can't eat the toxic shit. So stuff where it's like you overstepping the boundaries, or it's something that needs to be addressed, you just have to address it, but address it in a way that is going to still protect yourself. So as you address it, don't yell, don't do all of that. Address it in a healthy way. If they don't return that energy, then you have to reassess the situation. But you always protect, like, go into everything with a selfish mindset. And we have to even redefine that, because when people say selfish, they clutch their purse a little bit, like, I don't want to be selfish. But selfish is your human right. It's your human ability. We are born selfish. We operate selfishly, whether we want to admit it or not. So why don't you leverage that? Yes, leverage that. Go with that vibe and understand that I have to preserve myself, because I could not be anything to you until I am everything to me. Like, and it's a thing that we say, but we don't live by all the time, and we don't protect ourselves. Protecting me so I can protect you, because not only am I wanting to beat your ass, I also want to be able to be my best version of myself for you.
Right. She said if 1 + 1 = 5, then you're right. Absolutely. You're right, girl. Go on.
That's energy.
And look at challenges as opportunities. So when someone has a challenge, it's a challenge for me to manage myself and my family's stuff. You give them an opportunity to manage their own stuff. Use the challenge as the opportunity. It's a challenge, but you look at that challenge as an opportunity. This is the opportunity where you can say, well, okay, case in point, my son comes to me with a whole bunch of stuff all the time. Oh, I need this, I need that. My grandmother needs medicine. Everyone needs stuff. Everyone needs things, right? And so you say, you delegate. That's your delegating time. So what are you going to do about it? You need these things. So what are you doing? Did you get a plan in place? This is when I do Q&A. This is my favorite Q&A time, when people come to me with their needs without even saying, like, that's Q&A time. So what are you doing about it? Did you have a plan? What are you going to do? you have it? Like, and I'm very curious. I'm always interested. Like I sit and I listen.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it.
Let's explore this.
Like I will guide you. Let me be your guide. Okay. Now I done turned into a stewardess on this flight. So now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna suggest but I don't have to do it. And that's the opportunity that I have presented to you. I have presented an opportunity for you to take charge in your world and shift the mindset, the whole thing mindset, because everything that's presented to you is not necessarily for you. Just because it's like, hey, everyone's urgency is not your emergency. So you don't have to jump at the heat of your pants to just go do everything because someone presented it to you. It's not for you. Here's how I can help. I can guide you and I can listen. These are the things I can lend you. But I can't lend you action items and all the things. I'm not doing that. And that is what helps me to sustain my boundary. And it also instills, motivation in other people, like, oh, I'm not going to get this from this person. So I'm not going to keep knocking on a door that's closed, right? Because they're not going to do this. So now let me go find somebody else. Either they'll do it themselves or they'll find somebody else. So,
And another thing too, when you do what she said, they will shift eventually too. If you stay consistent with it. So it's like you said, teach it as an opportunity to teach them and you, because that's what has helped me with my daughter, is that I started modeling all the things I wanted her to be. I started being calm, and I started handling it just like, let's talk about some problem solving skills. Let's talk about, solutions. Like she wanted to do something. I'm like, okay, well, look it up and come back. Usually I'll go look it up for her. No, you look it up, you come back, we'll talk about it and we'll have a discussion. And not only does that give space and distance to, processing emotions properly, because of course she's frustrated, but I'm like, well, the best way I can help you is if you tell me exactly what you want. And I don't know what you want. You don't know what you want. So we can't have a productive conversation. And after having those things happen over and over again, she caught on. And now our communication is totally different. That's how I taught her to, I taught her to clean her room, keep her room clean and do laundry and stuff, not by yelling. I said, hey, we're a team. I'm going to do my part. So every time I did my part, and also have the communication outside of, oh, Lord, I'm going to keep my confrontations or things, like make it a norm to converse about how you're feeling. Make it a norm to converse about how you can work better. Like for her, I say, look, we're a team. This is our home. And, if I did something, I will let her know, hey, I washed the dishes so you can be able to eat breakfast. And she's like, oh, thank you. I'm like, yeah, and I'll send it home too. I wash it so you won't have to be able to, so you won't have to worry about washing those dishes, and it can save you time and you can get out of school early. We just have natural conversation. We made it a natural conversation. And so over time, don't underestimate the emotional competence of your children and your intelligence. They are. Exactly.
They're little people.
How to treat you. They are smart and capable. No matter what they try to act like, they play dumb. They ain't dumb.
No, they not. They not. I mean, that's just how we operate here. That's exactly you know how we operate over here. Yeah. I don't know the craziness that goes on over here. Yeah. But yeah, it's like we're all teams. There's no like, they know mom, I run things, but we run things, and it's nice, and it takes the load off, and it's not like, oh, I got to do this. And my son knows. And the thing about it too is sometimes it gives them time to change their mind, because they come and they see something right away and they be like, oh, I want this, I need this, I need da. And then you go crazy trying to find something and be like, oh, well, I actually didn't need that. And go on, think about it. My son knows. Text me all the details, because you can tell me all day long, I forget as soon as you're done talking. So just text me everything and I'll look at it. Like, that's it.
Yeah, do this. Take the journey together, right? And be vocal about your journey. Let them know where you're at. Let them know how you're feeling. Be honest with them and you. And that's why I said, don't underestimate the emotional competence of the people around you. And another thing too, if they don't mirror you, that's going to tell you other things that need to come in place. Whereas like, okay, so because we naturally are inclined to mirror the attitudes and whatever and the behaviors that we're around. So if you are very vocal about it and you are consistent as you can be with it, eventually it should shift. If it doesn't shift, most of the time it's because they're actively trying to not shift. And then that's something you have to explore at that point. Like, why don't you want us all to win? Like, come on now.
Right, because then there's the rebellion thing you got to look at, and all the other layers.
And all the other things, yeah.
All the other things.
self-preservation is numero uno in your life. And yes, you will have to, you'll have to adjust, but as you practice it, the adaptation will come to you naturally, and it'll start coming to them too. So just trust your family to, that they do have your best interest at heart, and trust yourself to know that everything is working for your good. Your life is working for your good, your body, all of that stuff. Trust your emotions, all of it. Make good predictions about your life, and everything will flow as it should.
And trust your family to know that they will make decisions for themselves without you having to do it.
That part. Yep.
You have to trust them. Because if you don't have that trust, then they're always going to rely on you, because they're going to be like, well, she's going to do it for me anyway. She know I can't do this stuff.
Exactly.
So
exactly. You got to stand on it. Stand on business.
Yes.
I just wanted to say it. I've never said it out loud. If I want to be like, okay. So the next question is growth mindset, but I feel like Jazzy already talked about it, because you literally said looking at challenges as opportunities. We kind of just answered that.
Yeah. So what is growth mindset? How do I know if I have it or not? And how do I identify if I have limiting beliefs and try to cultivate a resilient mindset to not default into negativity? How do I reframe? Okay. I just came out here with a should have led with this one. Well, I think, a growth mindset is basically being able to do newer things that you didn't do before, right? It's being able to challenge yourself or have those opportunities, look at things from a different perspective. That's how I would say it. What perspective can you look at it? My growth mindset now has been looking at things from a neutral standpoint, which is very different than what I did before. Everything was like transmutation, and this is a form of it, but it's another way of how to do it. So for me, and I'm using myself as an example is the best way to explain it, but to look at things from a different vantage point. And sometimes you can have the same vantage point, but a different angle, or, a different, perspective within the frame. Right. So that's how I govern it. And that's how I balance it out. It's really looking at it from, for me, a neutralized mind space. What can I add my own value that I truly believe in? What can I do that's my belief, not something that I inherited from my parents or my grandmother or my experience or a previous experience that no longer aligns with me? Because just because you have a past experience, that also doesn't mean that you have to take everything from that past experience and apply it, right? It's a part of whatever happened, but it may no longer align with you anymore. Like I know, for example, I used to say the old me would have done, but the new me, I don't say that anymore, because partly I don't know what the old me would have done. I don't even remember. So I really I don't even know who was she. I don't know her. So Facebook remind me, but then I'd be like, oh, that's
delete. I've been deleting them now. She's dead.
So I don't look at it that way no more, because when I really have a different mindset, my whole perspective has changed. My whole being has changed. My whole mindset, living, how I respond, how I react, those are different, and they come from different places, and they have different energies when I exert them. So it's very different. So I would say a growth mindset is basically you looking at things in a different vantage point or a different perspective, and attaching a newer energy that aligns, that's more aligned with where you are now to your present being, your present state. So how do I know if you have it or not? Your lifestyle will show you, the things you do now, were they the same things you did before? Chances are, most times, you don't align. Right now, my body will not even tolerate a piece of meat right now. I don't even know who I am. I don't know what I can eat right now. I went and bought a whole bunch of red snapper the other day and went on a red snapper thing. I'm like, I'm just going to eat red snapper. I don't really like salmon no more. I don't know what's going on. So your life is going to dictate that for you. I'm drinking tea. I went people who know me know I love coffee. I have not
drinking tea.
I'm drinking tea, girl. I know. It's crazy. I be going to farms. It's hard. Y'all don't got grass, and y'all don't got it's crazy. I don't. I'm turning into somebody who I don't know, but I'm learning this new version of me. And part of that is my lifestyle changes, my taste buds change, so that's how you'll know. Your friend groups may change. The things you used to like don't appeal to you no more. Like, those are the things, that's how you're going to know. And the limiting beliefs. So this is okay. This is a little funny one. So how do you identify if you have them? You identify if you have them if you are not aligned or feel, if things come with a lot of force, is what I think. If because let's see, this is a very complex question, actually, and I'm like going through it right now, so I'm like, ooh, this limiting belief. So you can identify if you have them based on how, I don't want to say how effortless something comes to you, but it's kind of like that, because oftentimes this is going into that whole law of attraction, right? Because we're like, oh, if I just, and I've said this myself, like, you got to vibe at the frequency that of what you want or what you desire. You have to become that frequency, right? A lot of times what happens is we have these false beliefs that are limiting to what's attractive to what our true vibration is, because we all have our own vibe that we vibe at. We have our own core frequency. This is what makes us authentically us. But the problem is we have so many other people's.
Uh-oh. Oh no. We lost her.
So when,
Okay. Okay.
are you here? Am I here?
Yeah, we lost you for like 2 seconds.
Okay. So what happens is then you don't you're it's harder for you to attract what you want. It gets harder and harder and harder. And so you have to identify if you have those limiting beliefs, because if you're doing something, you feel great and you're excited about it, and then suddenly you're like feeling weird, or you're feeling nervous, or you don't want to do it, chances are there's fear, there's something hidden, there's a subconscious that's preventing you. If you're worried, like, I want to post this but I'm not really sure, or I want to do this but I don't really know, that hesitancy is those indicators that what's the hesitancy. Your hesitancy is always going to be the indicator that you have a limiting belief somewhere, because when you know what you know what you know, you don't think about it, you just do it. If you're excited about something, there's nothing nobody can say to you that's going to make you say, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, and maybe you just go for it. So I would say, look at the hesitancy when it comes to whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Why are you being stopped? Why is the hesitancy there? And then when you have that, what you want to default, your default is to get curious. Don't be critical. When you get critical, that's when it's like it fuels. Like, I always treat my shadow self as like another person, like how I would with a child, right? If a child is hesitant to do something, the first thing I ask is why. I don't go, oh my gosh, you don't want to go. Your child want to jump, go on a roller coaster. You're like, come on the roller coaster. I'm scared. I don't want to. I'm not like, you're scared. Like, why you don't want to do that? Why you don't want to do this? My daughter wanted to try gymnastics, and I was like, yeah, let's try it. She's like, but I don't know. Why? Why not? Let's explore it. Treat yourself that same way. When you are wanting to go for something, treat yourself in that same manner. Why don't I want to do that? Why do I feel this? And stop and assess it, because that is actually going to be the catalyst for your shadow work. That's actually going to help you go down the rabbit hole you need to go down to figure out the root of why you can't do, or why you feel you can't do something, because it's always going to come down to a limiting belief that's not yours. Oh, we don't do stuff like that. Or we don't believe in stuff like that. Or people who do this don't succeed in stuff like that. Or this type of job don't make no money, so don't do stuff like that. You'll start to find those core roots of what the limiting belief is by getting curious to explore what it is in the first place. So I hope that makes sense. And then you reframe it by, like, I hope that makes sense. And then you reframe it basically by, asking yourself those questions, and then literally saying, reprogram it to have a new statement. I'm safe. I could do this. This is how it's going to benefit me. This is how it's going to do this. You start kind of talking and persuading that shadow self, or that shadow part of you, that inner child part of you, why you can't do something, why you can. Or you apologize for whatever they're feeling. Forgive yourself. If there's a forgiving thing that's there where you're like, well, I can't do this because I wasn't there for so-and-so and it's not going to be fair. Forgive yourself. Have that conversation with you, because that's going to allow, and then release it, because then it will allow you to move forward. Then you'll make peace with it. That's your inner peace right there. So those are the things that I would do to help you shift through that, because it is a lot, and it has a lot of layers, and it's not always easy, and it gets tricky and challenging, but it's doable once you're able to look at it from a different perspective and a different vantage point, really.
Mhm.
And it changes everything.
Yes, of course I agree. But I'm like, I don't think I'm like, she's wrong. No, it would never happen. I agree all the time. But yes, I want to add on and, give my take of it. And I agree with every last thing she said. I am starting to have a very, I don't want to say love hate, a hate relationship with words and phrases and terms, simply because of what they can do and the power and the unnecessary power that they hold, right? And it's like the first thing to do is recognize what the word is. We can Google the word and we can define it. She gave you the definition. Cool. But what does it mean to you? What does growth look like to you? Again, going back to humanity, everything is subjective. And my growth looks different from Jazzy's growth. Jazzy's growth looks different from your growth. Everybody growth. So what does your growth mindset look like? What does it look like for you? Ditch the terms. Like, because we are taught to do what they call the compulsive thriving, right? Where we're always trying to thrive to this next thing and thrive to this and thrive to that and work to this and work to that, when the real answer is to be, right? And when you really understand that on a deep level, you realize why these terms are problematic. Because you say that you want to have a growth mindset. Yes, and we do. Yes, it's awesome. But a lot of times when let's say you were to Google that, right? You're going to get 20,000 different perspectives. Mm-hmm. You're going to get some millionaire saying, wake up at 2 a.m. and go run 5 miles. You're going to get another one to achieve the growth mindset. You're going to have another person that's going to tell you to go, swim in the Atlantic Ocean or approximately 30, whatever. And none of that you can hear all of it, and it can sound good, and you can try all of these things and then realize at the end it does not work. So the answer is not to seek a growth mindset, but to understand that you are born with a winning mechanism in your brain. You have a winning mechanism system in our bodies. And the way to get in contact with that winning mechanism system in our bodies is to be authentic. The goal is authenticity. The goal is to operate as yourself, or as close to your authentic self as possible. And I feel like we put so much emphasis on things like that, but when the true answer is to get familiar and close and in love with you, and all of that other stuff is going to come. Like, don't even focus on that. Just focus on the authenticity, figuring you out. Because the closer you get to you, everything else is going to just flow. You're closer to your higher power. You're closer to yourself. You're closer to your kids. You're closer to everybody. Everything changes when you are close with you. And that is the real goal, is to find new ways every day to find yourself, operate as yourself, and fuel yourself. Like, find new ways every single day. That's the goal. That's the true growth mindset, is to find new ways to diversify your life and your thoughts that will complement that. Because all the things that I've tried, and I've tried a lot of things. I've read a lot of books. I've done all these different things. The one thing that has helped me is being myself. And I've noticed that when I stop caring about any of that other stuff and just focus on myself, I organically did all of the things I was supposed to do. And then I also rejected all of the things I was supposed to do and just started thinking about, what can I do to bring myself closer to me? All that other stuff is going to come. I'm going to make money because I'm me. I'm going to thrive because I'm me. I'm going to progress because I'm me. I'm going to be a good mother because I am good. That other stuff is going to come because of that root reason right there. So I guess my answer to the growth mindset is just to say, F the growth mindset. Be you. Like, just be you and grow with you. Hold your own hand and walk with you. Walk with your future self and inner child in unison, and you walk. You figure those people out. You visualize the future self. You get to know and you nurture their inner child, and you just walk. And no matter what it looks like, don't care about what it looks like. Don't care about Like, take the bowl off of the package, take it off, open the box, let the shit just be around. Like, it does not have to be perfect. It does not have to look a certain way. You don't have, the only thing you have to do is be in the best way that you can in the time that you are in that moment. That's literally it. All this other stuff is exhausting. All that other stuff is a them thing. That's not a you thing. That's not a us thing. And I know you personally, and I know your personality is going to thrive more just being you, because who you are is beautiful just as you are, right? And another thing is to understand life, right? And we have this false perception of life, thinking that life is supposed to be anything but life. Life is supposed to have uncertainty. Life is supposed to have mistakes. We are designed to be forever evolving. We are designed to be selfish. We are designed to fail. We're designed to do all of these things. And yet we reject those things about ourselves. And the reason why is not because it serves us any good. It serves other people good. People who created rules that they did not have you in mind when they created. Listen to how crazy that sounds. Those people were not thinking of Nina Carr when they made those rules. They were thinking of themselves and the ulterior motives that they wanted. So why in the hell am I listening to you? Like she said, the belief thief. I'm coming up with my own thing, right? And understand emotions. Like, understand emotions are necessary. Triggers are your hazard lights, and emotions are your hazard lights too. If you have an emotion, understand the emotion. Understand what emotions just look like. And I say this all the time because it's true. We have feelings and you have emotions. You have feelings. Feelings are your body saying, "Up, something's up." The emotion, then you have a prediction of what's going to happen. So if we'll use my back, for example. My back started hurting. My prediction in the past would have been, oh crap, my back is hurting. Let me just take some pain medicine. But now, because I've gotten to know myself, my back hurting says, oh, I must be suppressing some kind of emotion. So now my prediction is different, and my body responds to the predictions that I make. So all you have to do is focus on existing the best way you can and making the proper predictions, because emotions are essentially the feeling, the prediction, and the sum of both is an emotion. So feelings are natural, emotions are natural. The only thing you work on is the predictions. So if you focus on existing and giving yourself permission to exist the best way you can, and if you create, I'm going to say positive, favorable predictions, resourceful predictions, things that actually do something for you, because we're just living one big ass experiment. None of us have been here before. Well, in this life, we have never been in this life before. We're all just living one big experiment. Like she said, be curious. Like, understand that everything that we do is just another experiment. We're either going to get results that we like or we don't, but we're going to get results. So just focus on making the best version of the experiment, telling yourself the truth in the process, and understanding that the experiment not working out in your favor is just exactly that, the experiment not working out in your favor for that time, because there's also the layer of it could work out in your favor later. So release all of that.
Or it may not have been meant for you. Or something better is coming. Rejection is direction, redirection, and protection. Okay, like you don't have to. Sometimes things just don't work out because there's something better coming for you too, and you just have to look at how you value things. What value do you put on it? Life is. I read this quote that said, "Life is meaningless unless you give it meaning," and I was like, yeah, and it's so true, because honestly, when you think about your experience, if you don't assign a value that is at your core aligned with what you want and what you feel, then ultimately you're not being your authentic self. You're not vibing at your core frequency to attract the things that you naturally will align to you. It doesn't mean that you can't. It just means that you've kind of put some blockages there. So now there's more work that has to be done.
Exactly. It's all just one big occurrence of things. It really is. And you just got to learn how to navigate the things. Like, you have life as a whole is uncertain. Things that happen in life are life events. And it's an event that happened in life, and you're like, okay, we're doing this.
And the other thing too is, like, so many people are so about the journey and the destiny and all the things. Let me tell you, your destiny is the journey. Your destination is the journey. Like, that's what it is. So you're here to experience life. You're here to give life meaning. And the thing is, because we are all a collective consciousness, we need your experience for the collective. So experience life according to you so that we all can benefit from that. There's something that Nana has that she's going to add to this collective consciousness for all of us that's going to benefit us. Everyone has a gift. And when people tap into their gifts, it adds to the conscious collective of everybody so that people can walk and do what they're supposed to do in their authentic truth at their authentic frequency.
Absolutely.
So that's the point. Like that's the point.
Yeah, the point is just to be. Right. And it doesn't have to be an act of grandeur, right? It could just be something simple. And we have to really take away these whatever these like
the value.
Yeah, like
words. Like
dude, you're just here to be. Like you are here to be the thing, you know, you do the things, whether you do it perfectly, imperfectly, whatever. It's all all connected. It's all, we're just living it out. So all you have to do is just figure out a way that you can enjoy living it out. Like that's literally it. And it's like, as far as the limiting beliefs, you just know through exploration, you know, by tracking your subconscious thoughts. Like again, that requires awareness. So you have to work up to the awareness first, because they're kind of like catching like fireflies or something. It's like they're there, and sometimes you only notice the fireflies when you're standing still and you can see them, and you have to stand perfectly still to catch them. Same thing, right? And with your thoughts, your negative thought patterns. And then once you start logging them and paying attention, so for me, I have to do a cognitive thought pattern diary, whatever. That's what helped me. Everybody has their different methods, but for me, I started writing down my thoughts and understand what are the patterns, what kind of thinking is this, understanding them beyond just the thought, because we usually just have the thought, it triggers us, and our body responds or reacts, should I say. And you have to, like she said, break the pattern and say, no, that's not how we're doing this now. We are actually going to lean in this, and we're going to sit in it, and we're going to process it and understand when it occurs. And then you just tie it to whatever is coming in your life, and you just really just understand where it is. And if you don't know, that's cool. I tell people, put it in the lost and found until something or someone claims it. Because like she said, it may not even belong to you. You could have inherited, because we don't talk enough about inherited thoughts. We inherit some thoughts too. And if you know they're coming, you're aware enough to know they're coming, you learn to categorize them and know, okay, this is me thinking all or nothing, thinking this, me thinking this is me thinking that. And then the ones I don't know, I just put in the lost and found. And if you write it down and you just or make a mental note, at some point, it's just like that thing when you're trying to remember something, and you're like, oh, I can't remember the name. But then when you calm down or you're away from the situation, and when you let go, it comes, you're like, oh, that was the same thing. Put in the lost and found, trust that the answer is going to come to you, and 10 times out of 10, it's going to eventually show up. But you just have to be still and be aware and be, period, to see it. But yeah, and the rest of that, the reframing, it all goes in what we all just said. So I'm not going to repeat that dead horse. But yes, that was all our questions. And of course, in our true hyperverbal nature, we had 5 questions and went over, but that's cool.
Oh God, I know. We tried.
We tried, but at least she got her questions answered. So that's nice.
Yes. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was awesome.
Yes, it was. Fun. It feels good to be back.
I know.
Now I have to go do unfun stuff now.
It's fun. Change your mindset. I'm going
to do things that I don't enjoy, but they're going to pay me money.
There you go. Look at that.
That's all I got right now. I don't have much else.
Well, thank you. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll be on again. I'm like, I don't even know what day it is.
I don't know. We'll be on again. We'll put it out.
I'm like, I don't know what day it is. I don't know. I don't know what day it is, y'all.
Look. All I'm thinking about is I need to fix me some food. Other than that, we'll see y'all when we see y'all. But in 2 weeks, there you go.
Yes, in 2 weeks. But thank y'all for joining. Thanks for see y'all next time.
Good night, y'all.